Emma sat by the window of her favorite coffee shop, a quiet little place tucked in the corner of Maple Street, watching the autumn rain blur the world outside. The street shimmered with reflections of neon signs and car lights, but inside, the warmth of the shop made her feel safe, cocooned from the cold drizzle. She loved this time of day, the slow pause before the evening rush, the soft hum of conversations and clinking cups, the faint scent of roasted coffee beans mixing with vanilla. It was her moment of calm before the day's chaos caught up with her. She stirred her cappuccino absent-mindedly, her mind wandering through the usual thoughts: work deadlines, her apartment that needed tidying, and the ever-present hum of life that seemed to move faster than she could catch. That's when she saw him. Liam, he walked in like he always did, with that familiar, easy smile, hands casually in his pockets, coat slightly damp from the rain. Her heart skipped, though she tried to act indifferent. They had worked together for over 3 years at the marketing firm downtown. They knew each other well enough to share inside jokes, coffee breaks, and the occasional lunch without awkwardness. But over the past few months, Emma had noticed something different. It was subtle, almost invisible. But there was a shift in the way he looked at her sometimes, a flicker of attention that lingered longer than necessary. She had brushed it off, convinced she was imagining things. Until tonight. Liam's eyes met hers, and he gave that small, warm nod that said, "I see you." He scanned the room briefly before making his way to her table. "Hey, mind if I join you?" His voice was casual, but it carried a weight that made Emma's stomach tighten. She nodded, gesturing to the empty chair across from her, trying to hide the nervous flutter in her chest. She watched him sit, noticing the way his coat dripped slightly on the floor, how his damp hair clung to his forehead, and the faint scent of rain and cedar that seemed to follow him in. He was ordinary in many ways, yet in that moment he was more than anyone else. They began with small talk, as they always did. Work updates, office gossip, the occasional funny anecdote about their colleagues. But Emma noticed that his usual easy laughter was missing. He seemed distracted, his eyes constantly flicking to her face, as if he were trying to find the right words and daring himself not to say them too soon. She felt a pull she couldn't quite name, a tension in the air that made her pulse quicken. It was the kind of energy that made time slow down, where every glance, every gesture felt like it carried more meaning than it should. "Emma, can I tell you something?" His voice broke the rhythm of their conversation, soft but insistent. He leaned forward slightly, elbows on the table, eyes serious. Her heart thudded loudly in her chest. She nodded slowly, unable to speak for a moment. "Of course," she whispered. Her curiosity and anxiety tangled together. Liam took a deep breath and looked away for a second, as if gathering courage. "I think I've been feeling more than just friendship for you." His words were quiet but deliberate, each one landing like a small weight on her chest. Emma froze. She hadn't expected this. Not tonight. Not ever, perhaps. The words hovered between them, unspoken but undeniable, and for a moment, the chatter of the coffee shop faded into silence. She searched his eyes, looking for any sign that he was joking, but there was none. It was all real. He was serious. Her mind raced. Could she have missed it all this time? Every small gesture, every shared laugh, every casual touch now seemed layered with hidden meaning. She wanted to respond, to say something, anything, but the right words refused to come. She only nodded slightly, unsure whether it was encouragement or acknowledgement. But not wanting to break the fragile moment, Liam's hands tightened slightly on his coffee cup, the subtle tremor betraying his nervousness. "I've wanted to tell you for months," he admitted, his voice barely above a whisper. "I was scared. Scared it would ruin what we have, scared you wouldn't feel the same. But I can't keep it inside anymore. I need you to know how I feel." Emma felt a strange mix of emotions: surprise, excitement, fear, and a warmth that spread through her chest. She hadn't realized how much she had come to depend on him, how his presence could brighten the dullest days, how his words could comfort her when life felt overwhelming. And now everything shifted. The casual, friendly camaraderie they had shared for years suddenly seemed fragile, delicate, and filled with new possibilities. The coffee shop felt different too. The soft hum of conversations, the clinking of cups, the quiet music playing in the background, they all became part of this moment, framing it in a way that felt intimate, almost private. Emma realized that she had been waiting for something like this without knowing it. She had always felt a connection to Liam, but she had never allowed herself to imagine it as more than friendship. Yet here he was, confessing feelings that mirrored the unspoken stirrings in her own heart. Her mind raced with questions. How had she not seen it before? Every smile, every shared glance, every moment of silent understanding now seemed like pieces of a puzzle that had been hidden in plain sight. And yet, there was uncertainty too. Could she respond? Would admitting her own feelings ruin the bond they already had? Or could it open the door to something more beautiful than either of them had imagined? Liam watched her carefully, as if he could read her thoughts, and for a moment, the entire world outside that rain-streaked window ceased to exist. All that mattered was this shared space, this fragile truth that had been laid bare between them. Emma realized, with a mixture of fear and longing, that nothing would ever be the same again. The confession had shifted the balance, pulled the rug from beneath their predictable routine, and left her standing on the edge of something she couldn't yet name. Finally, she managed to speak, her voice soft but steady. "Liam, I didn't know." Her words trailed off, but they carried the weight of what she felt. She wanted to smile, to reach across the table and reassure him, but she also needed time to process. Time to understand what she truly felt and whether she was ready to take the step from friendship into something more. Liam nodded slowly, faint smile breaking through the tension. "I didn't expect you to say anything right now," he said quietly. "I just needed to tell you. That's all." The rain outside continued to fall, and the coffee shop seemed both smaller and larger at the same time, smaller because the world outside had shrunk to this single table and these two people, and larger because the possibilities now seemed endless. Emma took a deep breath, feeling the strange thrill of anticipation mixed with the fear of the unknown. She realized that tonight everything had changed, and she would never see Liam or herself the same way again. The moment lingered, delicate and alive, and Emma knew that she would carry it with her long after the rain stopped, long after the coffee cooled. The spark had been lit, quiet and unseen until now, and it had the power to grow into something neither of them could have anticipated. And for the first time that evening, she allowed herself to imagine the possibilities, hopeful, uncertain, but utterly alive. The rain had eased into a gentle drizzle by the time Emma stepped out of the coffee shop, but her mind was anything but calm. Liam's confession kept repeating in her head like a soft echo, each replay pulling her emotions in different directions. She walked slowly down Maple Street, boots splashing lightly through puddles, the cool air brushing against her face. Every step felt heavier than the last, weighed down by questions she hadn't known she had. How long had he felt this way? Had she unknowingly encouraged it, or had he been quietly battling these feelings alone? Her apartment building came into view, lights glowing softly in the windows like tiny stars. Emma paused before entering, taking a deep breath. She felt a strange mixture of fear and anticipation. She had never considered Liam in a romantic sense, yet his words had unlocked something inside her, something she hadn't admitted even to herself. Every memory of their friendship now carried a new hue. His laughter during late-night project deadlines, the small gestures of concern when she looked stressed, the way he always noticed the little things about her, all of it suddenly seemed to speak a language she was only beginning to understand. She took the elevator up, pressing the button to her floor slowly, almost reluctantly. Inside, the silence was comforting but also unnerving. She tried to focus on mundane thoughts: unpacking groceries, sorting her emails, checking the laundry butt each time. Her mind drifted back to Liam. She could picture his hesitant smile, the way his fingers had tightened slightly around his coffee cup, the warmth in his eyes when he spoke. It wasn't just a confession. It was an invitation, a window into a side of him she had never fully known. Sitting on the edge of her sofa, Emma wrapped a blanket around her shoulders and tried to breathe. She wanted clarity, wanted to understand her own feelings before reacting. The night was quiet, save for the soft patter of raindrops against the window and the distant hum of traffic outside. Emma realized that she had always felt safe with Liam, a comfort that went beyond casual friendship. But now, the safety felt fragile, tinged with possibility and risk. What if she felt the same way? What if she didn't? The uncertainty was exhilarating and terrifying all at once. Her phone buzzed and she jumped slightly, her heart racing. A message from Liam. She hesitated, then opened it. "I know this is sudden. I just hope you know I mean every word. I didn't want to keep this inside anymore." Emma smiled faintly, her fingers hovering over the keyboard. She wanted to say something reassuring, but words felt inadequate. She typed, deleted, and typed again, struggling to convey the swirl of emotions inside her. Finally, she put the phone down, realizing she needed time not just to reply, but to understand herself. She needed to untangle her heart from the threads of comfort, routine, and the new tension that Liam had awakened. Hours passed and Emma found herself unable to sleep. She moved to the window, gazing at the wet streets below. Streetlights reflected on the puddles, creating a mosaic of colors that seemed to mirror the confusion and warmth inside her. She thought about the quiet moments with Liam at work, the accidental brushes of hands, the shared jokes that lasted longer than they should have. She remembered the way he had once stayed behind late to help her finish a presentation, the gentle concern in his voice when she complained about her headache, the way he always remembered small details about her life. It had all been there, she realized now, hidden in plain sight. Emma's mind replayed the confession over and over. I've been feeling more than just friendship for you." The simplicity of the words belied their power. It wasn't grandiose or dramatic, but it was intimate, honest, and vulnerable. Liam had trusted her with his truth, and in that trust, Emma felt both honored and conflicted. She had always cherished their friendship, and now it seemed like a delicate glass figurine, beautiful but fragile, waiting to be handled with care. She remembered the moment in the coffee shop when he had said, "I didn't expect you to say anything right now. I just needed to tell you." That had been the key. He hadn't demanded a response. He hadn't pressured her. He had simply opened a door and let her decide how to step through. That thought brought a strange calm amidst the storm of emotions. He had been patient, respectful, and genuine, and yet it made her heart ache even more. She didn't want to hurt him, but she needed to know if she could trust her own feelings. Emma's thoughts drifted to the future. What would happen if she admitted she felt the same way? Could a romantic relationship survive the years of friendship that had defined them? Could they navigate the shift from colleagues and friends to something more? The questions seemed endless, and each answer felt both exciting and frightening. She realized that she had always imagined romance in stories' grand gestures. It's perfect timing, and fireworks, but real life was quieter, more complicated, and yet somehow more profound. Liam's confession was not a storybook moment. It was real, raw, and filled with possibility. She found herself thinking back to smaller, seemingly insignificant memories. The way he had laughed at her terrible jokes, the way he remembered her favorite coffee order without being told, the quiet support he offered when deadlines loomed too large. These moments, once taken for granted, now seemed like breadcrumbs leading to a truth she had been blind to. Liam had cared for her in ways that were subtle, consistent, and genuine. And now he had taken the leap to confess, exposing his heart with courage she admired more than words could convey. As the night deepened, Emma's emotions became a quiet storm. Excitement mingled with fear. Longing danced with uncertainty. She felt a strange, almost dizzying anticipation, as if standing on the edge of something transformative. Her heart ached with the possibility of love, yet she also feared losing the friendship that had been her anchor. Could she risk it? Could she let herself feel what she hadn't admitted before? The questions swirled unanswered, yet compelling her to stay awake, to think, to feel every nuance of this new reality. Finally, she sat back on the sofa, pulling the blanket tighter around her. She knew she needed rest, but sleep seemed impossible. The night was long, and the confession echoed in her mind like a gentle whisper. "I've been feeling more than just friendship for you." The words would stay with her. shaping her thoughts, coloring her memories, and perhaps guiding her decisions in the days to come. Emma realized that this was a turning point, a quiet but significant moment that could redefine her life. She didn't have all the answers, and maybe she never would immediately. But for the first time, she allowed herself to consider the possibility that the connection she had always felt with Liam might be something more. Something deeper. Something worth exploring. The night stretched on, quiet, introspective, and alive, carrying her through the whirlwind of emotions that Liam's confession had unleashed as dawn approached. The rain stopped completely, leaving the world outside washed clean and glimmering in the early light. Emma sat by the window, exhausted, but awake in a way she had never felt before. Her thoughts lingered on Liam, his honesty, his courage, and the undeniable spark that had always been there between them. She realized that life could change in a single moment, that a confession could shift the balance of everything, and that, sometimes, the heart knew truths the mind had yet to understand. With a quiet determination, she resolved to face the coming day with openness, to navigate the new feelings that Liam's words had awakened. She didn't have a full answer yet, but she had a sense of possibility, a sense of hope, and a sense that the bond she shared with Liam could transform into something beautiful. And as the first rays of sunlight filtered through the window, Emma finally allowed herself to feel the warmth of that thought, carrying it gently in her heart as the city slowly woke around her. The next morning, Emma woke with a restless mind. Sleep had been fleeting, and even as sunlight streamed through the curtains, she felt the weight of Liam's confession pressing gently on her thoughts. She moved through her morning routine mechanically, brushing her teeth, showering, brewing coffee. But her mind wasn't on the mundane tasks. Every small sound, the kettle's whistle, the soft hum of her refrigerator, the distant traffic pulled her attention back to him. His words echoed repeatedly, soft and insistent. "I've been feeling more than just friendship for you." She tried to make sense of her own feelings, but clarity remained elusive. By the time she reached the office, Emma felt both anxious and alive. She walked through the familiar lobby, nodding to coworkers she barely registered. Her mind focused entirely on the possibility of seeing him again. Her heart raced at the thought of the day ahead, wondering how Liam would behave, how their dynamic might have shifted. Would he act awkward, or would things feel normal? She couldn't predict his reaction, and that uncertainty made her pulse quicken. When she entered the marketing department, Liam was already at his desk, headphones on, typing away. For a moment, Emma considered avoiding eye contact, giving herself more time to process, but she couldn't. She needed to know, to see him, to measure the subtle cues that might reveal how he was feeling after last night. As she approached, he looked up and smiled. That same easy warmth she had always found comforting, but now it carried a new, almost vulnerable quality. "Morning," he said softly, removing his headphones. There was a slight hesitation in his voice, a careful gentleness she hadn't noticed before. "Coffee," he offered, nodding toward the small cup on his desk. It was a small gesture, but it struck her. In it, she saw his way of bridging the gap between yesterday's confession and the reality of the present. Emma nodded, settling into her chair nearby. The office hummed with activity phones ringing, keyboards clacking, occasional laughter butt around her. The air seemed charged with a quiet tension. Every glance toward Liam felt amplified. She noticed the little things she had always appreciated, the way his eyes focused when he worked, the faint crease in his forehead when he was deep in thought, the easy gestures he made without realizing. Those small details now seemed laden with new meaning, as if each one hinted at the depth of the feelings he had admitted throughout the morning. Emma tried to concentrate on her tasks, but her thoughts repeatedly drifted to him. She replayed their conversation from the coffee shop, analyzing his tone, his expressions, his careful choice of words. Liam had been careful not to overwhelm her, but the sincerity in his eyes had been undeniable. He had trusted her with his heart, and that trust made her own emotions more complicated. She realized she was asking herself questions she hadn't faced before. Did she feel the same way? Was she ready to cross the line from friendship into romance? Could they preserve the bond they had built while exploring something more? By lunchtime, Emma decided she needed fresh air. The office cafeteria felt too crowded, too loud, too distracting. She stepped outside, feeling the crisp fall air on her cheeks. Leaves crunched underfoot as she walked slowly down the street, allowing herself to think freely. Liam's confession had opened a door. But now it was up to her to step through a door to remain on the other side, cautious and unsure. She admitted to herself that she had noticed feelings for him before, but had buried them under the guise of friendship. Every laugh, every shared moment, now felt like a thread in a delicate tapestry connecting them in ways she hadn't fully acknowledged. As they reached the corner where their paths diverged, Emma felt a pang of longing at the thought of saying goodbye. She realized that she had grown accustomed to his presence, to the comfort and warmth he brought into her life. Saying farewell, even temporarily, felt harder now because the stakes had changed. Liam noticed her hesitation and smiled gently, a silent reassurance that spoke volumes without words. "See you tomorrow?" He asked, his tone casual but meaningful. "Tomorrow?" she agreed, her voice soft as she turned to head home. Emma's mind replayed the day, the confession, the walk, the moments of quiet connection. She knew that the next step was hers to take, that the path forward required honesty, patience, and courage. And as she walked through the crisp evening air, she realized that the world had shifted slightly, subtly, yet irrevocably. The friendship she had cherished for years now held the possibility of something deeper, something beautiful, and she felt a flutter of anticipation she hadn't known in a long time. That night, as she prepared for bed, Emma lay awake, the ceiling above her catching the moonlight streaming in from her window. She thought of Liam, of the confession, of the delicate balance between friendship and romance. She knew that her feelings were emerging, tentative and fragile, yet undeniable. And for the first time in a long time, she felt a sense of excitement for the unknown, a quiet hope that love, patient, genuine, and sincere was waiting just within reach. The next morning, Emma woke with a quiet determination. Last night's reflections had given her some clarity, yet her heart still fluttered with anticipation. She dressed quickly, trying to focus on the day ahead. But every step she took was shadowed by thoughts of Liam. She wondered how he would greet her, whether the spark between them from yesterday would linger, or if they would return to the familiar rhythm of friendship while silently acknowledging the new dimension in their relationship. Arriving at the office, Emma felt a subtle tension in the air that made her pulse race. Liam was already at his desk, glancing over some reports, but when he saw her, a soft smile appeared. It was the same smile she had always known, yet now it carried a quiet depth, an unspoken promise. Emma felt her chest tighten, realizing that the smallest gestures now seemed charged with meaning. Every glance, every slight movement, every casual word might be interpreted differently. The confession had changed everything, and neither of them could pretend otherwise. Throughout the morning, Emma noticed herself observing him more closely than before. The way he leaned forward slightly when concentrating, the way his fingers tapped rhythmically against the desk, the way his eyes crinkled subtly when he smiled, it all seemed magnified, imbued with a gentle intimacy she had not acknowledged until now. She realized that she had always been drawn to him, not just because of his kindness or his humor, but because he made her feel seen, valued, and understood in a way few people did. Liam's confession had given a voice to the emotions she had kept locked inside herself for months, perhaps years. During a short break, they walked out together for coffee, the crisp autumn air invigorating their senses. Silence stretched comfortably between them, punctuated by small observations and casual remarks. Yet beneath it, an undercurrent of tension and curiosity flowed. Emma felt a warmth in her chest, a mixture of hope and caution, knowing that the path ahead was uncharted. She had spent so long thinking of Liam as a friend, a constant in her life, that imagining something more felt thrilling and terrifying at the same time. "I've been thinking about last night," Emma said quietly as they walked, her voice steady yet gentle. Liam turned to her, attentive, waiting for her to continue. I realized I might have been feeling the same way, she admitted, her words spilling out carefully, but, honestly, I didn't want to admit it even to myself. I was afraid it would change everything. Liam's expression softened and a subtle relief crossed his face. You mean, you feel something too? His voice was hushed, almost as if speaking louder might shatter the fragile moment between them. Emma nodded. Yes, but I need to understand it fully. I don't want to rush and risk losing the friendship that means so much to me. He smiled, a mixture of patience and hope in his eyes. Take all the time you need. I can wait. I don't want to pressure you, I just wanted you to know the truth. That reassurance made Emma feel a deep sense of gratitude. She had never doubted his integrity or his respect for her. But hearing it aloud grounded her in a way that words alone could not. Liam's honesty had given her the freedom to explore her own feelings without guilt or fear. The rest of the walk passed in comfortable conversation, both of them aware of the unspoken connection that now existed between them. Back at the office, Emma settled into her chair, her mind still buzzing with the morning's exchange. She realized that she had spent so long hiding her emotions, carefully balancing on the edge of friendship and something deeper. But now the recognition of her own feelings was almost dizzying. Every task, every email, every phone call seemed secondary to the undercurrent of possibility that Liam's confession had created. She found herself smiling more easily, laughing more freely, and noticing the little things about him that she had taken for granted before. The afternoon passed in a blur. Meetings and deadlines faded into the background as Emma's thoughts continuously returned to Liam. She recalled moments that had previously seemed ordinary, the times he had stayed late to help with presentations, the way he remembered her favorite coffee order, the casual way he always checked in to see if she was okay. Now each memory carried weight, evidence of a deeper care and connection that she had never fully recognized. As the workday ended, Emma and Liam walked together once more. The streets were quiet, the air cool, but not uncomfortable, the light fading into a soft golden hue from the setting sun. Neither spoke immediately, both lost in thought, yet aware of the silent tension that hummed between them. Emma felt her heartbeat quicken, a mix of anticipation, excitement, and fear. She understood that their relationship was on the cusp of transformation. Delicate yet full of potential. I've been thinking, Liam said finally, breaking the silence, about how we move forward. I don't want to rush anything, but I also don't want to ignore what we both feel. Emma nodded, appreciating his sensitivity. I feel the same. I want to see where this goes, but carefully. I don't want to risk what we already have. He smiled, a quiet, knowing smile. Then we'll take it step by step. Together, those words resonated with Emma, a soft anchor in the sea of emotions swirling inside her. She realized that the trust, respect, and shared history they had built over years would serve as a foundation for something more meaningful. She didn't need grand gestures or dramatic declarations. The sincerity of their connection, the careful honesty, and the willingness to wait and understand each other were enough. That evening, Emma returned home, the streets now quiet, the city softened by the early twilight. She entered her apartment and set her bag down, feeling a strange mixture of fatigue and exhilaration. The day had been intense, full of reflection, emotion, and subtle revelations. She moved to her window, looking out at the city's skyline, lights twinkling like distant stars. Her mind replayed the moments of the day, each memory layered with the significance Liam's confession had brought. She realized that love, real love, was not always about grand gestures or perfect timing. Sometimes it was quiet, tentative, and patient. It could be a gentle smile across a coffee shop table, a small reassurance in the middle of a busy day, a conversation that opened the door to unspoken feelings. Emma understood that this was just the beginning, the first chapter of a story that required care, honesty, and courage from both of them. As night fell, Emma lay in bed, the ceiling catching the soft moonlight. She thought about Liam, about the delicate balance between friendship and something more. about the possibility of love that was both new and familiar. Her heart felt light, yet aware, filled with anticipation for the days ahead. She knew there would be challenges, moments of uncertainty, and perhaps fear. But she also knew that the foundation of their relationship built on years of understanding. Shared laughter and mutual respect was strong enough to hold them. Finally, she allowed herself to drift toward sleep, a gentle smile on her lips. She understood that this journey required patience, courage, and openness, and she felt ready to embrace it. Liam's confession had changed everything, yet it had also opened the door to a future filled with hope, connection, and the quiet magic of two hearts discovering each other in the stillness of the night. Emma felt a warmth that was both comforting and thrilling. She knew that life was unpredictable. Emotions were fragile, but moments like these honest, raw, and full of possibility made the uncertainty worth it. And as she closed her eyes, she carried with her the knowledge that some confessions could transform ordinary days into extraordinary beginnings. That love could emerge quietly but powerfully, and that sometimes all it took was one brave heart speaking the truth to change everything.